as an advice to anyone who wants to get into this, you need to have a strong vision. Hello, and welcome back to the Very Real Estate Effect podcast, show dedicated to real estate investing. Today, I just want to take a little bit of time to share a little bit more personal things with you about the podcast, about some of our projects, and kind of give you the full temperature of what I've been going through. Because on episode 1, on the introduction, I swore to you that I would share the reality of a real estate investor. And I want to emphasize on the word reality. I'll give it a pause to let it sink in for you, because it's not always fun and dandy. Before I go back get into the details of it, please share this episode with a friend. Leave us a comment, leave us a review. It's really appreciated. It helps the algorithm, helps us reach more people like you who could benefit from all of this. So thank you very much. If you rewind 3 years and 160 some episode, I started the podcast because I wanted to share some of the fun conversations that I have with people, and I wanted to document my journey as a real estate investor. Now, it's been hard. And I want to take the time today to get into it a little bit, because it's not a part that's very shared. And with today's instant gratification world, some people think that, you buy a property and it goes very fast, it goes very smooth, everything goes as perfect, and you make a lot of money right away. Well, it couldn't be more different than the truth and the reality. Some deals go a little smoother than others, but in most cases, it's challenging. There's surprises. There's things we didn't see coming. And that's part of the reality that I want to share. So I want to go back a little bit on maybe 1 or 2 episodes ago. I gave an update on our big development project that we're working on. If you haven't heard about it before, about 2 years ago, I bought a piece of land in Saint-Jérôme to build 16 units. The project was already approved by the city. By the time we got our permit last year in 2023, we purchased our neighbor's lot, and we benefited from a zoning change. So now we can go 6 floors instead of 3. So now we've taken the project through many versions and iterations. And now we just filed back with the city. So we're now at 43 units. So underground parking, 20 spots, 7,000 square feet of commercial at the street level, and 43 residential units ranging from the studio to a beautiful penthouse 3-bedroom on the last floor overlooking the river. It's going to be a fabulous unit. I can't wait to stand in it. Now, this project has been the most challenging real estate project I've ever done. I kind of realize now in a way that I didn't really knew what I was getting myself into. I've had sleepless nights, especially in the last 2-3 months. I have to admit, there's been surprise after surprise in dealing with the authorities, dealing with the city in order to get the project approved and get the permits. And the real estate side is very challenging. I need to be more specific. The development side of it is very challenging, because at every level of the journey, you depend on things that you don't control. When the city changes their mind on dates to submit, it has a huge impact on you, yet you don't control it. You just have to go along with it, smile. You can fight a little bit and argue, but at the end of the day, if they say it's that date, it's that date. You're also dealing with a whole team of professionals, and I have to thank my architect, Mourad at Edifix. He's been absolutely wonderful. All of the team has been very supportive. We've had to make numerous changes, and I can see how challenges it is for him when we basically have 2.5 weeks to do 2 months of work. So same thing with the contractor, Antoine at Devlor. Same thing with all of the engineering team. I'm not going to name them all, but they've been very present and very supportive. And what I want to share with all of you is that it's one thing to be to be doing plexes. You buy a 5-plex, a 6-plex, an 8-unit, you optimize it, you refinance a year or two later. It's fairly labor intensive, but it seems like you control more of the variables. When you get into development, you control less of it. There's more variables. You control less of them, especially the city approval side and the cost attached to it. You may remember about a year or two ago, some of the cities now said that out of the blue, they're going to start charging between $2,500 to $5,000 per extra unit that you add. So you can imagine for a 43 unit, how much that represents, which originally wasn't really budgeted. Now we've had to add it. So there is a time constraint because those projects take time. There is a cost factor because there is always more cost than you expect. And as an advice to anyone who wants to get into this, you need to have a strong vision. You need to know what is it that you're trying to achieve, what is it that you want to get done. Number one, the vision. Number two, you need to have balls of steel, because it's going to be challenging and there's going to be days where you want to give up. There's going to be days where you question yourself, why did you get into this? So it's not just courage and balls of steel. It's really also perseverance. You got to go back to your why. Why are you doing it? What's your motivation? What is your vision? And then keep going at it. The third factor is you're going to need capital. And you need to budget as accurately as possible. And when you have a good estimate, add 30% on top of it. Really, 30%. It may seem like a lot, but it's going to take you more time. You're going to have more holding cost. You're going to have more soft cost. There's always an extra thing that you need to do. And just as an example, I was sharing with a friend recently how, for example, for the fire prevention engineering part, like the building needs sprinklers. And in order to get the engineer to work on the sprinkler system, he needs to have water pressure tests. So the first thing he said to me, the engineer, was, well, you need to contract somebody because you need to do some water tests. For this location, here's somebody who you can work with. Oh, okay, wonderful. So I contact him. He's a contractor and he specializes on water tests. Oh, okay. So then how does it work? Well, send me a service offer. It's another $1,000. Okay. And in order for him to do this, he needs to contact somebody at the city. And then that person at the city needs to see with the person who's actually on the ground. And so they all need to schedule. And what we thought we could do next week is actually going to be 2 weeks from now, because the guy at the street level, going back to the guy at the city level at the desk, isn't responding to him. So he's not getting back to the contractor. So then the engineer can't get the information. And that's literally what happened. So not only did I get 2 extra invoices, then we were delayed by an extra 3 weeks. And that's something that I can't control as much as I can call them and push them. Sadly, I can't go on the sidewalk and unscrew that fire hydrant and plug the equipment myself to measure the water pressure. So when you get into development, be ready. You need a good team and you constantly need to be pushing everyone. And your job is really just a big part of coordination. Now, for this project, we originally had an approved project. We needed to go to permit. We got the permit. We then had the extra land and the zoning change. We're now at 43 units. We're basically restarting from scratch because the concept needs to be reviewed. The city had sent us a date by when we needed to submit the project. It then changed and it shortened the time that we had to submit the new file. So we literally, as I said, had to do about 2.5 months of work in 3 weeks. It was draining. And even at that point, we weren't sure whether we had it in enough detail that the city was going to take the file. In the end, they did. They reviewed it. They sent me a big invoice. But at least before they send the invoice, they told us, with the amount of derogations you're asking, most likely it's not going to go through. And the really sticky point then is, I'm not sure how to say it in English, so I'll say it in French, is the la gestion des matières résiduelles. I guess in English it's the management of waste disposal. I like to call it garbage, about how we're going to deal with it, because the city requires that there's outside bins, the big bins that are either on the surface or half buried. There needs to be enough space for the truck to be able to come pick it up, from the front, or otherwise with a crane, and then dumped. Anyways, so you end up spending a lot of time on, I wouldn't call it technicalities. They're very important aspects that need to be decided and dealt with. It's just that I thought we're going to be doing architecture, but at that point it was how to manage garbage. Anyways, that's a part of the project, and it's important that you know about it. Now, this project also requires more capital. So I've kept re-injecting capital of my own. It's just at some point, well, guess what? I don't have any more because I used it all because I kept re-injecting. So I need to bring on partners. And bring on partners, I need to propose a clear offering to them. What is it that they're coming in for? So for so much capital, I offer so much equity. I can't promise a return because, well, legally I'm not allowed. And then two, we both know how difficult it is to accurately plan and model those projects. So I have a ballpark estimate, and the more we advance in the process, the more of a detailed estimation I can give. But right now I'm in no position to guarantee anything. And even if I could, I wouldn't, because that's just not the way it works. On a personal level, like the finance question, the capital question has been a huge weight on me, because I keep wondering, okay, like I don't want to delay the project. I need to move forward with all the soft cost. I don't know how I'm going to pay for it. So I've had to be creative. And now that we're advanced enough and we've resubmitted to the city, I am able to prepare a better offering and to do a better partnership, because that's essentially what we're doing. The goal is to hold this property for at least 5 to 10 years. So at this point, I'm looking for an equity partner. This is a capital preservation project, and I've been looking for that kind of partner who wants to come on board for the long run. I've had sleepless nights over the last 2 months. I've wondered if I should have gone into this. Now I did. I can't roll back. And even if I could roll back, I think I would still go ahead with it. It's just that I would go prepared in a different way. And so all this to share with you that it's not easy. It's been challenging. I've taken pleasure at it as well. I have to admit, every time we review plans and I imagine what it's going to be like and some of the decisions that we still make, I do take pleasure at it. And most importantly, I see how it's forced me outside of my comfort zone, and it forced me to think in different ways. It forced me to be more creative and to find solutions to a problem that I didn't know I could fix, I could solve. And so that I'm very proud of. Now, with the challenges, I've had to think of all possible options. I've considered selling the project, repackaging it, get the permit. Once I have the permit in hand, repackage it, take all the reports, take the land, and then go sell it off to somebody who's going to do it. In some cases, this is still a possibility. And given how much value we've added to the land, we would come out of this project on the positive side. But my goal, as I've shared with you, has always been to create a community. It's been to create a community with this podcast. It's been to create a community with the real estate effect. And this, in concrete terms, no pun intended, we're going to have a concrete base and then a wood structure. In concrete cases, I realized that I want to build a community in that building. There's going to be 43 units. People are going to live in it. They're going to create memories. There's going to be families. And as I shared, my goal is to add housing to Quebec. I'm an immigrant. We need more immigration. We don't have enough babies anymore. We need some immigrants to come in, and we need to house them. And so that's part of my mission and my journey. And as difficult as it is sometimes, I will succeed. I know I will get to the bottom of it. There's a small chance I'll just repackage the project and sell it. I will still consider it a success. And I project and I envision that one day I will be standing on my concrete slab on the ground floor on the 7,000 square feet of commercial, and then just look around and say, we built this. And All this to say that I am glad to be accompanying you on this. It's hard sharing, and sometimes I wonder where the line is of what I can share and not, because whatever I share here goes in the public domain, and I have to be mindful of that because maybe the city is going to listen to this, and I have to watch what I say. Maybe there's going to be other people who've worked on the team that might have been great. It might have been a little bit more difficult. I always have to make sure that I stand with what I said. So I've tried to push that line as far as possible in terms of what is it that I'm comfortable with in sharing with you. Now, this is where I have something that I want to ask you. I added a new feature on the website, realestateeffect.ca. That's realestateeffect.ca, and I'll make sure to put it in the show notes. I added a new feature where you can leave a message, you can ask a question. And so I urge you that to go on there and ask some questions, whether it's about this development project, whether it's about basically anything you want to know in real estate and that you want to ask me. And I will take those questions and I will do some podcast episodes where I'll play your question and then I'll answer it to the best of my abilities. I've already gotten one. To me, it's not enough to do a full podcast episode. So I'd really appreciate if you could take the minute and a half, go record a question. It'll notify me. And then the next couple of weeks, I will prepare an episode to answer you. I've done my best to share my experience. Now I want to hear from you. And over the next couple of months, I want to keep improving the quality of the podcast, the quality of the guest, and the level of conversation. And I need you to do this. So go at realestateeffect.ca, click on the little icon, leave a message or ask me a question, or I forget exactly how it's structured. Go on there. It's a great little widget. And then I'll take the time to answer it. Thank you very much. It's now been 3 years. I've put a lot of time and energy into the podcast, and I want to thank all of you because it's been such a great way to have meaningful conversations. I committed to weekly basis. I've never missed a week, even in the summer when we were off, on vacations, whatever storm we were weathering, I've never missed a week, and that's my level of commitment to you. I thank all of you for listening, and every week I start and I end by saying, share this episode with a friend who could benefit from this conversation. I really mean it. You can help a friend by sending him this because he's going to learn something out of it, and it also helps me reach more people. I'm on social media. I distribute it all through my email list. I'm limited in a way to how many people I can reach. So I'm calling on you to share it with one, let's say two, let's say three people who could learn from it and grow the audience. Thank you very much. Stay tuned. Share this episode with a friend, and I will continue to make great content for you so you can get educated on real estate and so you can have the confidence to start investing for yourself. Thank you very much. I'll talk to you next week. Goodbye.